I'm trying to figure out who's on line 2 right now. It might be Theron. I certainly don't want to ignore him.
Yeah. Have a good show, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Linda.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so we got Tom from Detroit. Not exactly Theron, but hi, Tom. How you doing?
They both start with T.
Can't complain. Hey, Jeff Sessions has got to go. I mean, 2 days before Trump mentioned about him, that he shouldn't have recused himself, he went out right on the air and said that he wanted to step up the civil assets forfeiture. And, I mean, that's totally using the Fourth Amendment as a doormat.
I fully agree about the forfeiture. I'm totally opposed to that. I think it's unconstitutional. I think it's a real disappointment. But I'm not sure I would fire him over that since basically he's got a majority of Congress behind him.
Here's the problem with this is right now his job is not to necessarily make the law, but it is to define it, and the forfeiture law is there right now. And as he said on a number of different things, if you don't like the law on the book that I've got to sit there and protect and argue, that have Congress change the law. So if you don't...
That's not stare decisis from the Supreme Court says that an unconstitutional law is no law and it creates no office in the first place.
But that has been held up by the Constitution already. Or by the
Fourth Amendment means.
For anybody listening who's not quite aware of what the forfeiture law, the forfeiture, asset forfeiture, that's the word. So basically, and this happened to my son a few years ago. You're driving along, police pull you over for an infraction, they smell pot in your car. So they find out you've got $1,000 of cash on you. They jump to the conclusion that you're a dealer, all right? They take the $1,000 as evidence or as a forfeiture. You go to court, you beat the rap, you're not a dealer, the money wasn't drug-related, you've got receipts, it doesn't matter. You have to sue the police department to get your $1,000 back because it's civil, it's not criminal. And that's a personal thing.
Right. And I will say again, I don't agree with it either. But if you want it to where it's not an issue, you have Congress take care of the law and rewrite it to where that is not an issue. That is not...
Or you get a lawyer and you take it to court and beat it.
Jeff Sessions' job is not to... his job is not as that of a legislator, but as an attorney general. If you want to change the laws that he's governed underneath, change the laws. And I say we need to change that law.
Yeah.
And we should have. It should never have been an issue.
And we need we need a Supreme Court that will, interpret law correctly and find that unconstitutional when it comes before them. Mm-hmm. Tom, anything else?
Well, yeah. I mean, civil asset forfeiture was dropped on the federal level, and he wants to reinstitute it for some reason. I mean, it was gone as far as I could tell, and from the information I've gotten. Obama got rid of it.
It's not so much.
We're still doing it, but
you see, the thing is Obama could not get rid of that. To get rid of that would have required an act of Congress. That would have taken legislation from Congress to remove something that Congress had already put on.
Well,
in other words, it's still there. So what's happening here is Jeff Sessions is saying, I don't care what Obama said it was not or is going to be enforced. I'm going to enforce it all, and I'm going to bring back everything that he blanketly got rid of and told the past AGs not to enforce.
Yeah,
I'm going to enforce it.
What about Fast and Furious? What about the IRS scandal? What about Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch on the tarmac? What about the Uranium One deal?
Right.
He's grabbing low-hanging fruit, like going after states that have legalized marijuana, going after people who smoke marijuana for medical purposes.
Tom, if you want to get rid of the asset forfeiture law, here's what you do. First of all, you question anyone who's running for Senate and for Congress on this and how they stand on it and put their feet to the fire, get them to make a commitment of changing it. Get Congress, both houses, to change the law.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to have a letter of the law, an AG, who's going to sit there and say, I'm not going to, sure, it's low-hanging fruit. It's all low-hanging fruit because it's all in writing. You want to change it? Get the right people to change it. You just don't enforce it.
The Supreme law is in Article 6 of the Constitution, and it is the Constitution itself. I mean, I don't know how it could be any more simple. And I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to vote. I mean, if this is a game that I have to play it's not right.
The thing
Well,
of it is there's a lot of things such as, like the 14th really does this thing with fair and equal treatment of all that ends up taking away states' rights completely. There's a lot of interpretations of the Constitution that gets us into a whole mess of issues. You may say it's unconstitutional, but what does the Supreme Court say on it? And what have they said on it?
Well, this is something you need to call in about the next time that we have Bob Young on board. That's for sure.
Yep.
Next time we're interviewing Bob, let's see where he stands on that.
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh,
right.
Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. And while we're talking about that, we need to also talk about Burroughs Roadhouse, the place you need to visit to have dinner, to enjoy a good evening, see a comedy gig, hear
band.
good music. Band? Yes, sir. That's Burroughs Roadhouse, and you can call them at 810-227-6000, www.burrows-roadhouse.com.
They got great food there, great steaks,
Is that right?
everything else. But I'm a burger man. People think, oh, you'd rather have a burger than a steak? Yeah, I'm one of those kind of people. Get their burgers, man. They're wonderful.
Oh, I'm going to have to do that then. It's a drive for me, but yeah. That's
It's
a
worth it.
destination restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. It's worth going to. This a lot of people, and this is where people talk about the states being able to do their own religious freedom laws and everything else. There's parts of it, the fair and equal treatments, that actually pull away from states' rights. And a lot of people, they'll read the Constitution, and it should be simple to read. We're talking about having Justice Young in there writing simple laws that you can sit there and read it. I mean, how easy is it to understand any of the Bill of Rights when you read it?
I'm sorry. Think about this now.
Right.
It's Congress.
Right.
You start a law out, and it looks nothing.
No, but
Like
what I'm
you
saying is,
intended it to by the time it's done.
asset forfeiture has not been thrown out by the Supreme Court, which means that you can't just sit there and say it's unconstitutional. It may be unconstitutional in your view, but what does the Supreme Court say about
Well, and
it?
I'm wondering what the Michigan State Supreme Court, if it's appeared before that court yet. I haven't
Right.
looked at that.
So
to be honest with you.
here's what I'm saying: if you don't like a law, instead of asking the judges to and the AGs to read it differently, get the law changed so there is no more confusion.
Yep. But then
I'm
again,
not
the
for asset
course
forfeiture, and I don't want to even make it sound like I am.
Right.
I'm not. I'm saying we have to get
for
the law
rule of
changed. Yes.
For rule of law. And that's where I'm saying, part of that is you actually challenge it in court. That's what the courts are for. You challenge it. So you got two recourses, right?
Right.
So
That's why we have the court system there.
Yep.
You may not like the outcome. There's
Yeah.
been, especially Robert Young on there. But,
well, and it's important to buy the right
Or
judge.
not
I'm
Bob
sorry,
Young.
to vote for the right judges.
yes.
Well, look it's time already. I've got 3 hours of preparation just went out the window.
I told you to throw that out the second I sat down, didn't I?
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope to talk to you next week when Gary Willings will join us again. You have a great week.